Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Poke, Wildbow's most romantic work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Chapter 3. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with packed and pale spoilers. If you don't know whether Maggie and Toadie ever team up as a dynamic duo and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read them, and come back to this podcast. As for Poke, there will be full spoilers to the chapter we are covering.
All right, so we start with Ben and Deedee taking a shortcut through the Warrens to get to a super cool meeting where they get to trade some stuff. Totally normal surroundings. uh, the readers, us, get to see some familiar faces, which is kind of cool. Ben makes a trade, and he's pretty stoked. Deedee gets jealous and makes things weird. They end up opening up about their relationship, which is even weirder.
Upsetting to everyone.
Yes. And then Deedee lands a hell of a joke. What did you think of these chapters, Malia?
I did not think the story was going here. I was very thrown off. It's very exciting, and I don't know where the baby is. And that is my main concern at this point.
Didn't
But
they say last time that they were gonna like at the end that they were gonna bring the baby to somewhere to
they said that, but I assumed that we would then follow them as they did it. And maybe the baby's just done, but it doesn't seem like the baby could just be done, but it's fine. But also it's surreal reading Wildbow's words with packed and pale characters just sort of all mixed up together. I mean, we got it a little bit with like parahumans, you see characters from Word in Ward, and that's fun, but it felt jarring almost to just be like, yeah, like Mags and Toadie are just here, and it's totally normal.
This is fine, yeah. Except it's turdy right now. But
right,
yes.
which is fun.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. So Ben and Deedee take a shortcut.
Yeah. So let's see how this chapter starts. Sorry, I'm going to look at my live read again. Yeah, so I don't know exactly when this story or these chapters were written or whatever, but I feel like this might be the introduction of the Warrens into Otherverse canon. Like if this was written before Pale, almost positive they, unless I'm totally forgetting something, they didn't go into the Warrens and Pact. And so it wasn't like we spent a ton of time in them in Pale, but they felt established. They felt like a thing, and it's kind of wild that this is how they're introduced. I don't know, that like this is the inception of the Warrens.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Do you feel like it matched up well with, I guess, your Pale Warrens?
Yeah, I think so. I think we see them as a transport system. We see that they're really like dirty and gross. But we've also seen like big areas with a couple of Toadie's flashbacks to his birth and scenes with Bubble Yum and stuff. Like we know that there are big like caverns. The idea that there are like big scary goblins down here makes a lot of sense and reminded me of the Abyss. But yeah, it felt it doesn't seem to deviate much, which is cool. Like it feels very well conceived, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But so Deedee's freaking Ben out about the big scary goblins.
Big scary fuckers.
And it's fun that she manages to pull off this joke because she also has to like say things that are true, and that's part of what makes a joke work. But at one point she's like, being serious and being like, no, like serious, like this is really intense and very serious, and she says, I want you to come out of this in more than one piece. And Ben says, I want that too. And I'm like, no, Ben. You didn't listen to what she said. What the fuck is going on? That was fun. But yeah, I was really thrown by what was happening. I really thought we were like taking the baby to a hospital, and so I didn't get why we were going through the Warrens and why he needed to meet up with the practitioner, um, and what was happening. So
You're like, "Oh, there's no baby anymore. Where'd the baby go?"
I guess thinking back on it, like, the first chapter didn't lead directly to "There is baby now," and so maybe these are, like, little vignettes, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just wanna come back. A baby, I
"Baby,
don't
come
get
back."
eh.
Sorry.
Um,
Yeah, so, like, what'd you think of what do you think of this, like, big meeting I guess this big area that they go into where they met up with everybody?
yeah, it felt like a rooftop bar almost.
Mhm.
Like, the vibes were sort of like there's there's an episode of TNG where it's a holodeck episode, but it's Picard thinking about his past and this woman that he, like, almost married and then didn't, and
Mm.
so you're on this, like, you're in this specific, like, outdoor cafe in Paris or whatever, and, like, those were weirdly like that except really gross. Like
Yeah.
so kind of outdoors except, the Warrens, so not, but like a patio space with a bar and tables and like overlooking the horrible, awful game show
Mhm.
thing.
Also,
Um
just, like, she kept trying to, like, get him to have, like, a quickie in the middle of this fucking disgusting place.
yeah, it was insane.
Yeah.
Um
And it's like, with him, it's like he might you're like, I mean, he might do it because
if he's in this relationship, there's
yeah,
you don't really know what his
exactly, like,
boundaries
he
are.
doesn't have standards, obviously. I mean,
No,
he
but
does, but, like, they're not you're not your average standards.
sure. But yeah, he seems to have more similar boundaries to what I expect humans to have, um, considering the fact that he's dating her, which is fun. Um,
I mean, and good on him for, like, just, like we'll get to that, actually. We'll get to it. So,
but yeah, she just like really wants to have sex like this whole chapter in a way that is vaguely upsetting.
maybe a little bit more than vaguely, but yeah, like, her it's just I mean, the fact that, she's like the one part we hear her saying, uh, to Ben is, "Have a foreskin again by the time I'm done." Like, what the fuck? I mean, that's probably pretty tame for, like, goblin standards, but just like, how do you, like it just seems like sex would be painful with these guys because they have razor blades and shit sticking out
Yeah,
everywhere, right?
yeah. It doesn't seem like
It doesn't
it'd
seem
ever
like a
be
good
not
time.
hardcore in some regard.
Yeah. It's like it's safer putting your dick in, like, a glory hole where you don't know what's on the other side, than, like, a goblin, you'd think. But I guess she
Uh,
likes him,
I
so
mean, in the other verse, I don't know.
I mean, that's a good point. What would it Oh, man, this is a question that
I don't
I
want no,
should
I
not
don't want
voice.
this.
I'm
Yeah,
voicing it anyway because this is
okay.
the kind look at the story we're reading, okay?
It
I'm
just
sorry. But, like, gosh, is that oh my is that an even better discussion question? Probably not,
probably
but
not.
I just have to voice it. What does an otherverse glory hole look like?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on where you are.
Yes. The Warrens, the Abyss would be not great. I feel like the Fae are bored and have done everything, but also would there be glory holes? Maybe in, like, some areas.
Yeah, and
They
then the
feel
the different
too
courts have different types of glory holes, right?
yeah. It's hard to imagine, like, a high spring.
I mean, I'm not trying to imagine that hard, I'm gonna be honest, but, like,
Sure. Well, you asked.
I know, and I was obvious I knew what kind of it's more like I had the thought and I had the obligation to voice it.
Okay.
I don't regret it, but I'm also trying not to, like, really, like, get that imagery. But, yeah, I mean, it's like they're gonna make, like, the nicest fucking fancy glory hole that you're ever gonna experience,
But then
and
it's also gonna, like, curse you in, like, weird, horrible ways.
weird, horrible ways to where, like Well, for one, no other glory hole's gonna be the same. It'll ruin glory holes for you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So, thanks for that. Uh, what would be a good Fae curse thing for a glory hole? Just like it probably something with like, yeah, you're not being able to enjoy sex again or anything because it's just like not the same.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful too because like, if you like if they get a hold of any bodily fluids, they could do some
Oh,
weird
yeah,
shit,
no, you're fucked.
right?
Don't ever
So
do
you're
it.
fucked. So that in itself, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I bet the really smart people avoid glory holes in the other verse because I mean they probably I mean like maybe just really smart people avoid glory holes in
In
general, but
general,
like
maybe, yeah,
but
probably.
it's like the really dumb ones will do it in the other verse because they don't think about like just giving out their DNA for free, you know?
Yeah, or goblins, feel like
Yeah, I feel like Goblin
they'd try it.
the Warrens are like the place
Yeah.
for glory holes. Well, I'm sorry and you're welcome. But I had to say, look, this is again, we know exactly what kind of story. It's
Yeah, it's on
romance
theme.
and
Yeah.
it's goblin.
Yep,
And so
it's all there.
it's all there. Right.
Um, but yeah, so when we enter this patio, as I think of it, uh, they they describe that some of the goblins are playing Scrabble with dice, and like, what does that mean? It's just it's so fun and evocative because like how
Like, how
like
do you do that?
could it be that like you have to roll a die and that tells you how many letters you have to use? Like that feels a little too like erudite.
Yeah.
Um like this is one thing that doesn't feel like, upsetting. It just feels like intriguing. Like
Yeah.
how?
That's true. How
Or
does
is it
that
just
work?
like nonsense? Like is it just another like goblins don't fit in boxes and play by the rules and so fuck you?
Mm,
Um
that's fair.
I also thought the goblin with the Confederate flag diaper was funny in terms of like, is
Like, of
this
course.
super racist or super woke? Like,
A goblin in a red hat.
but it's
W
like if you had like, yeah, like a diaper with Trump's face on it because it's not underwear, right? It's a
This is
diaper.
I think this was this before the Make America Great Again hats
I
was a
have no
thing?
idea when this story was written.
Because 'Cause I'm just, like, picturing a Make America Great Again hat with a Confederate flag diaper because I just feel like it
Right,
does
because you feel
fit.
like people who wear like American flag shit are like super like America, but like they don't poop in it normally. Like if you put your
Yeah.
baby in a American flag diaper, what are you saying?
I mean, well, you're saying your baby is, like, eats, breathes, and
And
pees
shits the
American.
American flag.
Yes. I
I
said
just
peas
feel
because
like
it, like, kind of flowed better. But,
no.
look,
I feel like so it's technically against flag code to like wear the American flag or something dumb. Like this comes up every once in a while when people are like, you can't burn the flag because of the flag code or something. And it's like you're not allowed to wear things with the American flag on it if we're taking it that seriously.
yeah. But technically,
Um
don't they, like, make the flag slightly off for certain clothes and things for that reason? I feel like I've heard that, but
I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've heard that, but who knows?
I guess a lot
I
of
mean,
things
people
are like stars and stripes and not
like,
exactly.
exactly, like,
It
13
just like
and
obviously is the
50.
flag, but not.
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway,
Anyway, yeah,
the
that was
politics of this goblet are very confusing.
yes. It's pretty funny
It almost makes me want to ask Ben what he thinks, but if he comes by,
if he
maybe
comes
I'll.
by.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, they are going around describing the various people in this area, and they
mhm,
mention a girl with a checkered silk scarf,
and
yellow and black at her throat.
I should have checked your live read. I forgot to do that, but I feel like you probably were pretty stoked.
Well, first I put a really long ellipsis, and then I said, Max's scarf isn't silk, right?
Hey, she
um,
has probably has multiple scarves, multiple checkered scarves.
oh, that's fun if she has kind of a collection of them now. Um,
That's
it
all that's what I kind of figured, but I don't know. It's
Um,
just
yeah, I mean, I assume that she's, uh, particularly concerned with anchoring herself because Jacob's Bell doesn't exist anymore.
mhm.
She describes herself as an itinerant goblin queen, so she doesn't have a home. Um, and that was one of the things that was anchoring her. But
Mhm.
yeah, that it was the girl in the checkered scarf. I was like, no, it can't be. And I don't know if it's like reading this just after Pact, maybe I would think, oh, it's Mags, like more immediately.
Yeah,
But I think, like, having, read Pale and Pact and realizing, like, how much Wildbow kept them separate, I was like, "Is it what?" Like, I
yeah, no,
didn't realize yeah, that, like, major characters in both stories would be in this short story.
that's reasonable.
Yep,
So I'm looking at your
my love read.
oh, it's so good. Just your reactions. I love it. I love it. I love okay.
Yeah, so that we see some Deedee introduces Ben to some of her crew, and,
Mhm.
uh, the one that made me freak out was Sir Turd Swallow.
Yeah.
Because she was like, "This is her turd swallow," and I was like, "This is who now?"
Like, "Who? Turdy!"
It was like it makes so much sense because, like, we see Dee Dee in the story briefly because she was Toadswallow's friend, and so, yeah, I guess it makes sense that she's here or that he's here, but also what and, like, his I was trying to remember, I feel like his British affect, like, chilled out. Um, like, maybe at the very beginning of Pale, he was a little bit like,
Mhm.
and so it was funny seeing him here just, like, very idea say, like, I don't even know. It's just wild. Also, the fucking milkmaid is here. That
Yeah.
was one I did not pick up on until we came back around because I was just, like, not prepared.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Uh,
Got the milk idea for the milk for for stray baby from her. Ah, so
I'm
good.
really glad she clarified idea and not got the milk from,
Yeah.
but
Well,
also what?
well, she could have gotten the idea, and then she didn't say that she didn't get the milk from her, but
That's true. But then Buttsack's here. I don't know. This made me so happy. I was like, Buttsack, you're still a thing.
that's
Uh, um, and yeah, it seemed like these groups were kind of separate. Like there was Mags and Buttsack, and there was like Dee Dee's friends, and there was like the big scary goblin. Um, and yeah, I don't remember exactly what they say, but they about this bartender, but this bartender exists, and I have this feeling they were human, or no, they are human. Sorry. Um, and I was hoping that they're aware, and it just sort of like ended up down here, and we're just sort of like, well, it's a job, like.
like, all right, this is where I belong now.
It just is so fun. Yeah. Um,
So he meets up with Mags and they start working on a trade for information.
yeah. Um, before I guess to talk about this a little bit more, before
Sure.
they get into their deal, they talk about the game show thing.
Yeah.
And she
That's
like warns
interesting.
him off of that. She's like, "Don't look at it, don't do any like don't."
Just no. Yeah.
Um, and, like, this is I mean, seems fairly clearly to be, like, a karmic ritual type thing, and I was trying to remember if Pact had any instances of this. Like, there's stuff about, karma and, like, getting sucked into things and, like, roles,
Mhm.
but this felt like, the Hungry Choir or the Crucible or what Charles was trying to make with the Hungry Choir, like, um or
Yeah.
that thing that turns all your shit into people and you into a place or whatever. Like, there are rules and it wants to drag you in, and so if you, like, get involved with it, like, it'll suck you in, and,
Yeah.
um, again, if this was kind of the first conception of a ritual in this sense, like, it's pretty impressive that it's just sort of here in this story as a, like, whatever, like, background
Mhm.
detail because felt very pale. Um, like more than Pact, kind of like more developed sense of otherverse. I was gonna say cosmology. I don't know if that makes sense, but just like a more developed sense of the practice um, than what there was in Pact, which was exciting.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it sounds
Sorry,
bad.
I'm looking over at this description or about the game again, and that's the thing. It would be hard to like ignore that.
Yeah,
Even hearing like, "Oh, they deserve it," especially with kids, you know? So, like, I know
right.
kids can be fucking terrible, but, that would
But
be
also
really fucking hard to, like
not try to do something or whatever. Yeah.
but
Um,
I guess, like, because it's like, if it's not the preliminaries, you don't know if it's
all
someone
people
who's
that
shitty or not,
right.
because could be a good person that's stuck, you know?
Right. Um, and yeah, yeah, it really made me think about the Hungry Choir and like, the girls were very much warned off and they were like, like don't interfere too like don't actually get involved like it will suck you in and like you will become part of it and they don't interfere too much because they don't become they don't have to go next month or whatever
Yeah.
and like be part of the ritual. Um but it's a difficult thing, um, in terms of, like, how to be a good person, uh,
Yeah.
and, like, because probably, like, Ben's not a Kenneteer, so probably what would have happened is he would have gotten, like, sucked into the ritual and, like, died horribly and, like, no like, he would have saved a person, which is good, but also he wouldn't have really he would have given the thing what it wanted and not
Yeah.
really stopped it or prevented it from doing anything to anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's probably good that he didn't, but also that sounds wrong, like that just
Yeah.
very much sounds incorrect.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, at the very least, like impulsively trying to do something is not the best move. Um, and maybe something can be done. I don't know.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
But anyway, tray time.
Um, this was fun and not what I expected. The trade is information. Ben wants to know if he's like on the right track, basically. Uh, reminds me of this is stupid, but it reminds me of a crossword app where you go and you click check puzzle and then you get to see all the squares that are wrong. Um, he has asked Mags to help him with her connections figure out stuff.
Mhm.
And so he's given her all the stuff he knows about the Warzenbergs or the Vat Va Watzenbergs. I'm really bad at vowels in German, but it's not Vatzenbergs, it's Watzenbergs. Anyway, uh, and this is a family that was so isolated and incestual that, like, they've sort of become odd folk or something, which is fun. And, uh, it's also, like, kind of a heroic lineage almost, where there's rules about the, like, circumstances of everyone's birth, and, like, he doesn't know all of them. He knows there's 5, but for instance, if your mom dies giving birth to you, you are smarter than the average person in your family or something. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a couple of other rules, and that's just fun and wild. And again, like something that is touched on in Pale with the goat and Verona and the Crucible, but not super like intricately explained. I don't know if that's fair or if it's just like I understand things a lot better when it's like like we experience a character going through it. So like Verona trying to build a heroic lineage in the Crucible helped that make a lot more sense for me than the goat did necessarily. Like I get like the seventh son of the seventh son or whatever, but like yeah. Anyway, it's just cool seeing that here. Like
Yeah.
and learning more about, what Ben does. Yeah. Um and it's yeah, okay, we'll just go how the story goes. Basically, Deedee he's poring over the information and he, you know, realizes that a lot of this one train of thought was incorrect and that's a bummer, but also, it's really good to know that now. Um and he's like, "Oh yeah, Dame Mitha like maybe lied about who she was the mom of or some weird thing." And Dee Dee says, "Fuck Dame Mitha." Dave Mitha is the worst. He complains about her all the time. And this was just so lovely. It just very much screams like partner who is, proud of like their partner and like, supportive, but also not personally interested in the thing that they're doing, but like listens enough, pays enough attention when they talk about it to like know and pick up on things,
Pick up
but in a
something.
way, right, that just isn't quite
Isn't
on the
quite right.
nose, like she's the worst. It's so
He's like,
good.
"No." Yeah.
Another fun example of Wildbow really uh playing with these relationship tropes. Because it
Yeah.
just felt so on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, God, and this is like basically when Mag starts to clue into the fact that like they're not a practitioner other relationship, they're a romantic relationship.
Doesn't
Um
I feel like yeah, like, means a lot to me that you're paying enough attention to know some of the names, he said, giving Deedee a pat on the foot.
At one point, he looks at Mags just in time to see her giving Deedee a very suspicious look.
Which did not change as she met his eyes. Yeah.
Ugh, it's so funny and also awful. I also I started to hear Dee Dee's voice in a like New York accent, like Long Island or something, like just or like New Jersey or like, like I'm trying to remember what media is a good example of this, but just it was so funny because she gets jealous and starts like threatening Mags for like existing around Ben, and then when Mags is like, "What the fuck? I'm not interested," she immediately becomes offended on behalf of Ben, um, which is
Yeah.
such a fun trope and makes so much sense for a goblin. Um, and it's not necessarily an indicator of a healthy relationship, but did make total sense for her character. Um, but this is what really gives away the fact that they're dating. Um, and I l I love that that they weren't trying to hide it, because, when Mags asks, he's not like, "I don't wanna talk about her," or whatever, he's like, "Yeah, like, she's my girlfriend," and, like, Dee Dee is very, like, he's, "Look at this face, it's all boringly good looking and shit," and, like, talking about why they are into each other, and he's like, "Yeah, I like really trashy women," and she's like, "I like really dull men," and it's so delightful how,
Ah, it's
like,
so good.
everyone is disgusted by this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kinda like, "Oh, that's sad," but also, it's not just Mags that's grossed out, right? Like, the goblins are
Yeah.
grossed out, and that's very fun. Um, that it's not just like, "Oh, ew, that those things are gross." It's like, there's not, like, a hierarchy, it's just, like, mutually it seems weird to
Yes.
everyone involved. And yeah, it doesn't seem like they're like, I guess I would assume that they wouldn't wanna tell people about it, because
Yeah.
of this reaction, and so I'm not sure if, like, they haven't gotten this reaction much or, like, have they been kind of insular in their relationship or,
Yeah.
um, are they both just like, "You know what? This is like, I'm proud enough of my partner and into this relationship enough that I don't wanna, like, hide it or, like, be ashamed of it," or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, I was gonna say props to Ben, like, he did not hesitate when Mags asked what their deal was. He was just straight yeah,
right.
just straight
Like
up, like, boyfriend and girlfriend.
right. Which I just didn't like, it wasn't like, "Oh, we're dating," or, like, "We're seeing each other," like, boyfriend and girlfriend is such a phrase,
Yeah.
and, like, the commitment, just, like, so many things that are very, like, I don't know, like, it's so good. Um
So good. It's like it is is yeah, I just thought this is really interesting because like Deedee just got so jealous and then outraged that, Mags wasn't interested and kept escalating and escalating and escalating to where like Ben basically had to like, threaten to break up if she wouldn't cut it out.
Right. And I do appreciate that Ben is like, "No, it's you can't treat people like this, that's not okay."
Yeah.
Like him kind of setting that boundary of like, "I don't like this, I don't think this is acceptable behavior. I don't want
Yeah.
a partner who, you know, acts like this toward other people," um, was good.
Mhm.
It's just wild. The
Yeah.
whole thing's just wild.
Yeah, honestly. Uh, and then, like, then we hear the a boom, and Deedee sets up some more stuff, and a goblin tells a disgusting anecdote about
Oh my god, this was so much.
yeah.
Like, he's, like, talking about how he's not even scary compared to the things that are, like, in down here and, like, making those noises or whatever, and how he I don't even wanna talk about it.
Yeah.
Just read the fucking story if you haven't, people, it's
What?
upsetting. It's just so upsetting. Wow, but why are you like this?
Should I read it just to put it out there, Malia?
If you have to.
Like, this is what we're signed up for. Glory
Alright.
holes and beached whales' vaginas. Okay? This is what we signed up for, and we're doing it. Okay, here's the quote, guys. I once wedged a man inside a beach whale's vagina so I could fuck him and fuck the dead whale at the same time, Cock Nash said. What a name. His voice, a guttural burr, a voice like tarred gravel. Dead whales can explode if they're on land. Gas is inside them, so is a motherfucking Russian roulette necrophiliac bestiality double fuck. Now ask me why. Do I have to? Ben asked. Deedee jabbed him. Why? So I could say I did it.
My the best thing is the that he insists, "Ask me why. Do I have to? Why?" Like, when Deedee's
Why?
like, "Do it."
Like, yes,
Yes,
you
it's
have to.
just so fucking funny and, uh
Oh,
I don't know
gosh.
that, like, breaking down every, like, comedic moment in these stories is that useful, but they're so good.
It's so good. Yeah. But I'm like, wow, what vivid imagery that I never wanted to have in my brain.
That even a little bit.
What was that?
Yeah, even a little bit.
Yeah, seriously. And then Deedee's like, "Okay, truce," and Mags is like, "Well, yeah, like, I didn't wanna fucking fight. The fuck is wrong with you?" I said nicer than that,
Uh,
but, yeah, and then after that, they yeah, I don't know, get to expose their relationship.
yeah, they talk about it a bit more. I just again,
It's
like,
just
both Mags and Buttsack are weirded out, and it's so good.
like, we know, like, why Mags is questioning, and then Buttsack's like, "Why?" Deedee mentions his, like, gigantic dick, apparently, and
Yeah.
Buttsack's like, "You can get that with a lot of goblins, and with some, you'd get some body lice and nails stuck through the old dong to give scratching that itch a whole new meaning." Gosh,
Yep.
thank you, Buttsack. Then she's like, "Well, he's nice to be around and shit,"
But it's so cute.
and then Buttsack's, like, disgusted again.
And the explanation Ben has is like, "Yeah, some guys like golden retrievers and they're all, like, nice and, like, put together and, like, cute, whatever, and some guys like pugs," and I was like, "That's the cutest way ever to describe what he is."
And then Deedee's like, "Aw, I think I've got a bit of Mexican sewer rat in there.
Oh my
The
god.
kind that can crossbreed with dogs, and that one dog breed could be gnarly. What was it? Chinese crested." And I'm just like, what an understatement, Ben, to just say, "I kind of like trashy girls." Like, for one thing, it's not kind of. Like, you're full in. You can't get any more full in on the trashiness than a goblin, okay? You just can't.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Um,
Uh, and then Mags is just like, "Oh my gosh," and, "Just give me my information, please."
yeah. Um, so Max wants, yeah, info about Gerhild, and as someone who's finished Pale, this was funny.
Yes.
Um, it was gratifying to, like, officially know that Gerhild was the person who destroyed Mag's town.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I don't think I mean, we didn't get that confirmation in Pale explicitly, I don't think, so this was fun. And yeah, so we learned that she was a human, which I maybe knew in Pale, but I have no recollection of knowing that. Um, I was under the impression that she was a goblin who, made other goblins do whatever she wanted. Um, and so the idea that she was a lot like Mags once, sort of. Like, she was just a normal person, and then she encountered a goblin and became aware, and then became a goblin queen, and then just, like, kept going, and
Kept
it's
going.
really awful. Um, and yeah, just that she then did this to Mags and did this to so many others, and just I don't know. Um, we learn about the her 3 goblin lieutenants who are bigger deals than the hyena,
Yeah.
um, which we find just yeah. Um, I mean, this is very hype, I'm sure, especially for like, I wonder if Poke was part of why the Pale community latched onto Gerhild so much.
Mm.
Because I remember it being like a conversation, or her being a conversation around Arc 13 and other points in the story where she's like mentioned, but I like, yeah, there's a couple of goblins who are like trying to avoid this chick, didn't scream like, "This is a huge thing, let's all talk about it," to
Yeah.
me, as much as it seemed like everyone was doing. But, I mean, Mags's story plus this information plus Pale, um, made her feel very hype. But yeah, we see, um, Mags does the connection test thing that Sandra taught her to try to figure out a little bit more for Ben about his theories about his forts and bags. And Mags is sort of like, I can maybe talk to or connect you with this lady who showed me this trick, but also please don't cut me out because I need help. I
Yeah.
guess. She describes the Duchamps as a bunch of golden retrievers, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Um, but then I thought about Lola, and I was like, they could probably make one of their golden retrievers a lot like a pug if they wanted to, needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Well, then, geez, it's just, everyone focuses on Ben and Deedee, and after they get done, and then Deedee sets up and lands her jet. Just
And
so
it's
good.
it's just a your mom joke.
It's a really good your joke. She nailed it.
And, like, I'm scrolling to find the exact part. Right, so, I mean, the chapter starts, when they're going in, and she's like, "There's really, really bad, scary things down here," and, um, she convinces the, big goblin to, like, go along with this kind of, and the thing is, like, they're not lying, but also the noises probably aren't gonna immediately murder them all or something, um, and, like, she's building up how awful and scary these things are, and how she has to be telling the truth, and she'll, get like, it's her life if she doesn't or whatever, which is just because that one goblin is gonna murder her or something if she is too annoying or something. Um, and it's just, "What if I told you there's a fucker out there so fucked he fucked your mom and liked it?" And it's just like, "Oh my god, that's insane." Like
Man, and then I just I love his reaction after she explains all this is, "I'm genuinely reconsidering the course my life has taken to bring me to this point." And then Mags is like, "Only now?" Uh,
It's so fun and, like, obnoxious and great, and it's also really, really fun that he's like, "Hey, you might meet my mom someday, like, soon, like, don't make those kinda jokes," and Deedee has the same sort of, like, "How did my life lead me to this point?"
I
moment.
know.
The idea of meeting his mom, it's
So
so,
good.
so fun. Um
Oh, man. This is a very fun story.
Yeah. She it's so fun and cute. And yeah, like he wants her to maybe meet his mom, which is insane. I don't
Yeah, like, that's the
Yep.
questionable all I mean, okay, he's made a lot of questionable choices, but that would definitely be questionable.
Yeah. I want to meet his mom to learn things about him and his life.
Yeah. You would go over a lot better than Deedee, I think, Malia.
No, I meant, like, as a reader, I
Oh,
want
okay. I
to
thought you were just being like, well,
I wanna
he's
date Ben.
his name's Ben, and how different can it be?
Ugh,
Probably pretty different.
probably pretty different. No, just in terms of, yeah, as a reader, that would be a fun, thing,
Yes.
potentially.
Okay, well, first I wanna go over the pale/packed in comparison. I know we've talked about some of that, but are there any points you want to bring up that just to compare?
Um,
Otherwise, we can go over what we've compared.
yeah, I mean, Mags is here, Toadie's here, the milkmaid's here, Buttsack's here. There's a big ritual. Um,
The Warrens.
the Warrens, Gerhild, um, Dee is here.
Yeah, they're, like, all combined. Dee's
It's just
here.
all one big thing.
Big thing. Okay.
Yeah. He kind of I guess Ben kind of reminds me of, Sebastian Harless. Like, kind
Okay.
of, like, vaguely lonely dude who finds a girlfriend. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
They both like historical boring
Very
practice.
different girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, time for a bold and specific prediction. Where is this story going next?
Well, now
Do you
I
think
don't know if we're ever seeing the baby.
it's
Ugh. But also, yeah, like, if this is a series of vignettes, like, so if the baby is gone, then the threads that have, like, gone through the story are, like, Ben's work, and then their relationship, I guess. Like, it kind of feels like we're done with Mags and Toady for now. Like, maybe one or the other of them would come back in some form, but it seems like either we might follow up with Sandra or, like, try to learn more about this Wartzenberg family, or it'll just be more of, like, them and their relationship. So honestly, like, them meeting his mom or something could be another chapter, like, if we're getting
Yeah.
scenes. So what are relationship scenes? I mean, the arguments, fights are classic, but again, like, it seems like these two would have so much to argue about, although maybe it'd be funny because it would be something unrelated to, like, it'd be a, like, weirdly mundane argument or something, which could be fun. Or yeah, we did babies, uh, we did jealousy, we did coming home from a work trip. God, what are other relationship things? Again, yeah, meeting the parents.
Big purchases.
Oh,
I
that's
was gonna say
yeah.
getting a pet, but baby kind of trumps pet.
Yeah, moving in together. Mom always said you should go camping with the person
She
you're
d- that's true.
with to try to feel out things in a relationship. I'm trying to remember what other things were sort of like home improvement projects or something. Like, what are things you do with your significant other that really show, like, whether or not y'all will work or something.
Yeah. I
Um
mean, home improvement
going on a
projects. Yeah.
going on a trip?
Yeah, that's true. Going on a trip
Yeah, okay. So I guess we will see them go on a date.
on a date.
Like, go out on a date.
Okay. All right.
Why not?
Hell of a date. Okay. Let's talk about our previous discussion question, which is pick a four-letter word with starts with P, which we said pair. We came up with pair.
We said pair.
And tell us what the premise of that story would be in the other verse. So, okay, I'll read it. We've got two. One of them is much longer than the other, and I'm gonna read the longer one. Okay. Ripper 1337 says, my first thought is that pair is about twin practitioners needing to work together to survive, but needing to defeat the other eventually. However, I realize that this is basically just pact.
Mhm.
So, pair is a story about rival practitioners in the same general field, such as two rival alchemists. They hate each other and do whatever they can to get an edge on the other or sabotage their rival, but they're generally evenly matched, so no one gets too far ahead. At some point, one of the rivals dies, whether it's from the rival actually winning or through some other happenstance. Basking in the victory, the winner is joyous until they go to rub it in the face of their rival, only to realize they are dead and they can't rub it in their face. The victory is a hollow one, as now without the other to push them to greater heights, their skills start to plateau, and they come to a horrifying realization that the spirits have come to define these two practitioners by their struggle against one another. So without their rival, they cannot truly advance in the practice. The winner cultivates a new rivalry with someone else, and this lets their practice grow. At some point, the winner dies, and the victor basks in their victory until they realize their practice has stalled, and now they too must seek out a new rival. That's
Damn,
pretty cool.
that's cool.
That's definitely dark.
Yeah. Blake Tall's idea has a much different tone.
It's hilarious.
They propose that Pear is about a practitioner who, through a series of unfortunate coincidences, accidentally awakens twice. And now the spirits think they are not one practitioner, but two. Hilarity ensues. It's very fun. For our new discussion question, we had a fan propose one, I believe, and I don't know if you want to
Yes.
explain it, Jen, or say it.
Well, we're going back to the glory holes. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, it's not about glory holes. It is about marriage. And the suggested discussion question was to pick a phrase out of Poke that would fit in at a wedding. Like how a lot of times like people use Bible verses or different things as part of the wedding ceremony or the service, or pick something from Poke that would fit, because it is a romance story after
Yeah,
all.
I love it.
Yes. Also, fill out a form thing where you tell us how awesome we are, or tell us about cool stuff that you like, and eventually we will read it and we will do an episode about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might even do a poll.
Whoa.
Polls are so fun.
Ooh, the next P story. Poll.
It'd be about like people who are working on campaigns, but like on opposite sides.
Unless it's spelled Pole.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
that for some
bonus
reason
discussion
made
question.
me think of a maypole.
Maple. Come up with poll. Bonus question. I'm totally serious. I want to hear it.
Okay.
I don't even care if it's poll, Poll, or Pole. All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer a discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering Poke Chapter 4.
All right. This week's fun fact is not disgusting, but it
Yay.
is interesting. So you said yay. I feel disappointed. I feel like it should be disgusting. But I guess we fit in some disgusting things through the podcast, so it evens out. So the abbreviation OK that people use all the time, that actually stands for an incorrect spelling of all correct, which they spelled as OL, so OLL, correct, KORRECT. So I guess in the 1800s, or especially the late 1830s, it was a trend among younger, more educated circles to intentionally misspell words and then abbreviate them and use them as slang. So, like, they had a bunch of slang terms. So they included KY for no use, as in KNOWYUSE. Gosh dang it. KG for no go, or KNOWGO. Geo. Okay, the ghost, it's the same. And OW for all right. So, yeah. So they were so cool. They were so fucking cool. They misspelled their words, and who knows? Maybe it's gonna come back. It's all taken a long time, but maybe by 2030 we'll be misspelling words and abbreviating them again. But uh, so I guess out of all the abbreviations used during that time, okay was printed in the Boston Morning Post as part of a joke, and so it was kind of highlighted. Um,
Hmm.
its popularity exploded when it was picked up by contemporary politicians. When the incumbent president, Martin Van Buren, was up for re-election, his Democratic supporters organized a band of thugs, really? Okay, to influence
Mm.
voters. This
Mhm.
group was formerly called the OK Club, which referred to both Van Buren's nickname Old Kinderhook, based on his hometown of Kinderhook, New York, and to
What?
the term recently made popular in the papers. Um, the opposing Whig Party made use of OK to denigrate Van Buren's political mentor, Andrew Jackson. According to the Whigs, Jackson invented the abbreviation OK to cover up his own misspelling of all correct, which is very interesting. I don't know why I've never bothered to Google what that stands for before, but third
Yeah.
bonus, make up
Mm.
your own misspelling.
Oh
And
god.
yeah, I don't know. I want to come up with like some abbreviations and what they mean and then try to figure out what the hell it's supposed to stand for.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Lots of discussion points. Pick and choose what you want, and hope you had fun listening. And we will be back hopefully next week, unless one of us gets sick again. But
Or Thanksgiving makes it
oh
hard.
yeah, Thanksgiving is probably okay. Maybe. Well, yeah, Thanksgiving we're gonna be too full. Uh, but this is giving Wildbow some time to write another chapter.
Yay!
Yay!
Not too much pressure.
No pressure, but
Just a
like
tiny bit of
I
pressure.
just a little bit. Just the proper amount of pressure.
Just a small, tiny
Just a
little
smidgen.
yeah.
A small amount. Okay, what sounds like S besides S? Small. Small. Let's say Z because that makes sense. Small amount. We'll say ZO. Look, I know that's not good, but I'm trying. Going off the cuff, okay?
ZO.
Small amount. Yeah, that's a terrible one. It's okay. You guys can come up with better. I've set the bar really low,
Yay.
so you're welcome. All
Okay.
right. Bye.
Bye.